Auntie Mickey's house. Oh yeah, yeah. Auntie Mickey's house. Auntie's house. You're in the house. You know you're in the house. Come on in and grab a seat, grab a seat. Come on in and hit that light, hit that light. Oh, you're Aunt Mickey's house. Auntie Mickey's house. Grab a seat, prop your feet. Let's sip some tea, sip that tea. Entertainment, news, and spirituality. From the culture to the fun, Auntie sets the tone. Sets the tone. With a laugh and a truth, she holds the throne. She holds the throne, yeah. Auntie Mickey's house. Come on in now. Auntie Mickey's house. Oh, Auntie's house. You're in the house. You know you're in the house. Come on in and grab a seat, yeah, yeah. Come on in and hit that like, don't forget now. Auntie Mickey's house. She can roast with a smile, drop wisdom too. Break down the headlines, bring it straight to you, baby. Community strong, conversation grown. Grown talk, baby. Auntie Mickey's house, make yourself at home, yeah. Come together, every voice is heard. Every voice. Respect the vibe, let's share the word. Oh, yeah. From the jokes to the prayers, she keeps it real. Keeps it real. Auntie Mickey's house, that's the deal. That's the deal, baby. Auntie Mickey's house. Auntie's house. Oh yeah. Auntie Mickey's house. Auntie's house. Known in the house. You know you're in the house. Come on in and grab a seat. Grab a seat. Come on in and hit the light. Hit the light, hit the light. You're at Auntie Mickey's. Yeah, yeah. Auntie Mickey's house. Auntie Mickey's. Auntie Mickey's house. Auntie Mickey's house. It's Auntie Mickey's house. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Auntie Mickey's house. Auntie's house. You're in her house. You know you're in her house. Come on in and grab a seat. Grab a seat, come on in and hit that light. Hit that light. Oh, you're at Auntie Mickey's. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Auntie's house. Auntie's house. Auntie's house. Grab a seat, drop your feet, let's sip some tea. Sip that tea. Entertainment, news, and spirituality. From the culture to the fun, Auntie sets the tone. With a laugh and a truth, she holds the throne. She holds the throne, yeah. Auntie's house. Oh, Auntie's house. You know you're in a house. Come on in and grab a seat, yeah. Come on in and hit that light, don't forget. Auntie Mickey's. Auntie Mickey's house. Auntie Mickey's house, oh yeah, yeah. She can roast with a smile, drop wisdom too. Break down the headlines, bring it straight to you. Straight to you, baby. Community strong, conversation grown. Grown talk, baby. Auntie Mickey's house. Make yourself at home, yeah. Come together, every voice is heard. Every voice. Respect the vibe, let's share the word, oh yeah. From the jokes to the prayers, she keeps it real. Keeps it real. That's the deal. That's the deal, baby. Auntie Mickey's house. Auntie's house, oh yeah. Auntie Mickey's house. You know you're in a house. Come on in and grab a seat. Grab a seat, come on in and Auntie Mickey's house, Auntie Mickey's house.
Good afternoon, y'all. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. Here, let me turn on my camera. Shoot, I'm gonna be bold today. I am gonna be bold today. Whatever. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. You know what? I tried to fix this. I tried to fix my title, and it wouldn't let me put a dash in here. This StreamYard is so temperamental. So I guess I'm going to have to take out doctor so I can fit in some spaces. Shoot, this is crazy to me. Why can't I have a period? Well, we don't want to use that word. Why can't I have a period of punctuation in my title? I don't understand that. Okay, I done fixed it. Let me put one more space in there and make it look right. I hope everybody is having a wonderful day. I know I am. Because like I said before, every day above ground is a good day. Ain't that right? Yes. Even amongst all the chaos. Every day above ground is a good day. So let me just greet everybody. Hello, Lady of Elegance Candles. How are you, sweetheart? Hi, Camille. Hey, EJ. How are you, sweetheart? Hello, Satin Doll. There she goes. Hello, Mr. Phillips. Hello, Don. Hello, Barbara. Hello, Ron Cooley. Nice to see you. Adventurous you. I know you are. Yeah. Kathy Mitchell's in the house. Hello, Kathy. All right. Let me get to the top of this list because I know who's at the top. Hello, Lisa. How are you, sweetie? Let me see. Hello, Anthony. How are you, hon? It's my Camille. Where's my husband at? Where's he at? I gotta find. There he go. Hey, boo. How you doing, boo? My boo is at work, but he still supports me. That's a good man. I got a good one. Hello, Rachel Haynes. How are you? It's so good to see everybody in the house. I hope I didn't miss anybody. If I did, charge it to my head, not my heart. Oh, bless your heart, EJ. Thank you, my love. Thank you. Hello, Millionaires Cove. How are you? Q Rock, what's happening, Captain? Lisa Bruno. Hello, Lisa. I'm so glad to see y'all here today. I really am. I have definitely been on my grind. Yes, Dawn, you said I was up late last night and checked out a couple other lives, and I just got to say there's no place like home. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Dawn. I appreciate it. Yeah, I try to get out there and, check out other live streams and stuff, and I got to say, boy, I tell you, some of the chaos I see on these other channels, I'm sorry, I can't get with that. Every now and then I may turn up a little bit. Hello, Clayton. Thank you. Clayton likes my hair. Thank you. But in respect, I don't like to down other channels. Trust me, I don't. But there's enough out there that even when they're talking about really important topics that we should be talking about, even then it just gets to the point where it's too much, too much talking over each other and yelling and hollering and screaming. You ain't got to do all that to get your point across. Be civilized. We are civilized people. I know that's right, Camille. Camille says, I'm working both chats. I'm not playing with these trolls tonight. Amen, because you know they coming. That is so true, EJ. EJ says, the chaos reminds me about how emotional, I know that's what you meant. I believe that's what you meant. Political subjects can be, and that's very true. That's very true. But there's just, I don't know, there's a way that can be, we can debate, we can agree to disagree, but you don't have to be disrespectful. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to be disrespectful. You don't have to call people out their names. You ain't got to call them bitches, F words, and all this other stuff. Because if we going to do that, then I can get down with the get down too. And I don't like to go there. Oh, bless your heart, Don. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I don't want to knock other channels, but I tell you, sometimes I see why some content creators choose to be the only one on the platform. And again, there's nothing wrong with having a co-host and someone joining you on your platform, but if y'all can't be civilized, it's a lot of chaos. The chaos takes over the topic, to be truthful about it. I went to a live stream and I chimed in as well, but I just wasn't feeling it. I had to leave. I had to leave, even though it was a very popular subject. It was a trending subject. It was the same one that we talking about right now. You know, talking about Trump, ICE, and all that stuff. See, I don't have a problem talking about Trump. Exactly, EJ. That's very important. Selecting the most appropriate co-host is important. It matters. It really does. But when you get on this platform, you have to, and I try to check myself as well. I'm not perfect because sometimes these people get in my chat and piss me off, and I call them out, and I have to start controlling my temper because you know they may disagree, but they can be very disrespectful in their disagreement. And when it comes down to talking about what's going on with the ICE situation, I just can't perceive people being so blind to not see the cruelty in it. you know you may agree that yes, we need to get the worst of the worst out of there. You know what I'm saying? But in the same topic, I mean, in the same token, it's just, ah, Chanel, is that your name? Chanel Lewis or Shane Lewis? Abortion is eugenics. Okay. Well, sweetheart, we're not here to talk about abortion, but you are free to stay. And hey, join us in our live stream where you check the channel, check the topic. That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about abortion. Okay. But thank you anyway for chiming in. And like I said, you are free to stay. I'd love to have you. Okay. But I did a real deep dive last night into Chat GPT. I love Chat GPT. It is very, very informative. And I really wanted to know exactly what our rights are. Cut it off. Cut it off. Yes, EJ. But before I get into my deep dive, I want to share some videos with you. Apparently, local police in Minnesota are starting to speak out. And they're speaking out about the ICE situation in Minnesota. And 3 agencies are being tasked to work in conjunction with ICE despite the backlash that they're getting themselves on the street. Police officers are getting the same venom from the public, especially the public that's out there protesting and whatnot. They're getting the same backlash that ICE agents are. Hello, melanated drip. Welcome, sweetheart. Good to see you. So glad to see you, hon. So, they themselves are the daily faces that we have seen out there. You know what I'm saying? But they're being criticized for not protecting the public. So I can understand their position, but again, I feel like, hey, if 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 the rest of the government, how can I put this without sounding like an idiot? If only Congress would just do their damn job. If if they would just step in and do their job and put a curb on this fool. Because let's be real, there's something wrong with that man. Something is definitely wrong with that man. I believe the man's on his way out. I ain't gonna, that's just my opinion. I'm not wishing no ill will on him. I don't like him, but I'm not wishing ill will on him, but clearly the man is not well in more ways than one, physically and mentally. And to be truthful about it, who knows? He may know he on his way out. And he trying to get all the shit done he can get done before he's gone. And when I say gone, I mean I don't know where he going, whether it's up or down, but whether he going somewhere, because we all got to go at some point in time. But meanwhile, we have this president giving press conferences. His statements that not only fail to address the chaos he himself has created, but continues to spew misinformation. He said some of the damnedest things in public. It just floors me. Sometimes I gotta walk away from the TV. I mean, from who's in charge of the Nobel Peace Prize? Norway, they're in charge. I don't care what they say. And a nice lady gave me the Peace Prize. We dealing with a kindergartner. We are dealing with we are dealing with someone that is mentally unstable, in that he's going back to childhood mentally, or something. I don't know. You know what, EJ? I caught what you said. EJ says, I've always said there should be an age limit for the presidential candidate. I so agree with you. This orange man clearly has neurological problems. Man, I'm telling you. How old is this dude? He's almost 80. He's almost 80 years old. And he's falling apart up here and physically. Have y'all checked them ankles? I mean, honestly. Honestly. But you know one thing that gets me? When he said, I was done, when he said that the Civil Rights Movement of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 harmed white people, I was done. You can't make this shit up. You can't make this shit up. Who, frankly, personally, I believe he's dealing with some mental and physical problems, and nobody around him is even trying to stop him from this embarrassment. I just don't understand how the people that are around him are kikiing to him, kowtowing to him, and they see what's happening around. They can't miss this. And nobody's trying to stop him for whatever reason, whether it's to save their own necks, save their own bag, but they certainly ain't trying to save this country, because they letting this fool run rampant. Hi, Jess. How are you, love? So basically, the best advice I could give everybody right now in this moment, is to know your rights. I had to go into a deep dive last night into Chat GPT just to know specifically what our rights are as US citizens. But first, before I go into that, let me go ahead and share this video. This is a video of a couple of officers in the Twin Cities law enforcement. Actually, I think it's 3. And let's see. Let me make sure I get the right one because I got a lot of stuff up on here. And you know, I'm still trying to get this StreamYard thing down to a science. So I'm going to go ahead and share this video just so you can get an idea of what the mindset is from the officers on the ground. Okay? Just bear with me, people. You know I'm a babe in this thing. I'm just a baby in this thing, even though I'm old. So let me turn down my music so you guys can hear properly. Let me know if you guys are having trouble hearing. Because sometimes, you know, for whatever reason, I can play a video and it won't play. And I will need to jump in occasionally just for the sake of YouTube and copyright and all that good stuff. So here we go.
We recognize by standing here today that some might say you're only speaking up because this is happening to the cops. Others will say that we're speaking out against ICE and that means we want rapists on the street. Neither of those things are true. We want to find some common ground. Law enforcement has more authority than a general citizen. That means we have more responsibility in how we behave. We have to find common ground here, and we have to figure out a way that these processes, which are clearly failing, if American citizens are being grabbed or stopped or seized, this can't happen. We have to make sure that everyone's civil rights are intact. I truly want to believe that there isn't anybody on either side of the political aisle that thinks that people's civil rights aren't important. They have to be the cornerstone of everything we do. Yesterday, our country honored Dr. Martin Luther King. And I was struck by the fact, and I'm paraphrasing, but he once said, "We must learn to live together as brothers, or we will perish together as fools." We can't be foolish. We can't be those fools. So we are asking that we come together and figure out a way for this state and this country to resolve these things before things get any worse. Thank you.
Good morning.
Sorry about that. I was muted. Sister girl right here is got it going on. Hey, I applaud her. Because she's holding it down in her district, in her neck of the woods, so to speak. So only thing I gotta say is, sweetheart, we gotta help you out with that wig. I'm sorry. I love you, but we gotta help you out there, okay? But other than that, sweetheart, I give you all kudos.
Good morning, everyone. Dewana Witt, Sheriff of Hennepin County. Just yesterday, our nation honored the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a man who challenged us to at least remember the history, not only to remember history, but also live in its lessons. The theme of this year's MLK breakfast, make a career of humanity. And that is what myself and others are trying to do. We're trying to make sure that humanity remains in the noble profession of policing. As I know what it feels like to be stereotyped, judged, and profiled, I know firsthand what it means to be seen before being understood. Our nation, and particularly our agencies and state, have worked hard to confront the wrongs of the past. The work that has never been perfect and is still progress in the making. We know that we have a lot more to do, but there has been real progress, and it's very important that we do not lose sight of that. But today, unfortunately, we are seeing that progress erode.
Now, I must say that I don't know about a lot of you in the chat. Some of you may be too young to remember, but there was a time where black folks, look, we done gone through this as a culture, as a people. Don't forget them 60s and 50s and 60s was a booger. And oh, by the way, just let me interject this. Satin, happy birthday, love. Happy birthday to you. We love you, hon. That's family here. Satin is family. So we have to give her props. Happy birthday, love. So once again, for those of you that remember back in the day, you know, how they were mistreating black folks on the street, don't forget how those police was pulling out those fire hoses and mowing people down left and right. Mr. Phillips, you said I was 3 years old. Shoot, I think I was 5 or 6, but I remember it being on TV.
I am seeing and hearing about people in Hennepin County stopped, questioned, and harassed solely because of the color of their skin, solely being the operative word here. This is not okay now, and it's never been okay. And now that same discrimination is also spilling into the law enforcement community. Dr. King reminded us that the time is always right to do the right thing. And for those of you in position of leadership, now is not the time to be quiet. When we have concrete examples of profiling, we need to do the right thing. We cannot let people in our communities think that our local law enforcement leadership is okay with the actions that we simply know are not just only wrong, but illegal. We can't just say this is a noble profession and not treat it as such. So what does it mean to be noble? It means someone admired for high moral character, showing qualities like honesty, courage, generosity, honor, and often acting in unselflessness and integrity. Integrity, one of the pillars of this profession. 5 years ago, our city, specifically Minneapolis and Hennepin County, became ground zero for civil unrest. Since that time, local law enforcement has been doing the hard, necessary work to rebuild trust within our communities. Rebuilding a community and an environment where people should feel safe. Rebuilding our law enforcement agencies with the people who honor the humanity that we want in our communities. You see, trust isn't just an abstract idea. Trust means victims of violence feel safe, calling 911. Trust means witnesses coming forward, crimes getting reported. Trust means that communities welcome law enforcement as partners in their community. You see, we just don't want to be a part of our community. We want to be partnered with our communities. And what's going on now is stifling that progress.
I'm so sorry. I was muted again. But let me just say the best way for us If we can't get out there and protest with a lot of the young people, you know, a lot of people are scared to get out there and do what they got to do, you know. But let me tell you, we've got the best instrument available, and that's our voice. If you've got a voice, you've got a platform. And if you've got a platform, you can be heard. We can't just sit in the house and watch it unfold, because you never know when they're going to come knock your door down. See, this is how explosive this situation has become. They don't have to, you don't have to be a target. You can just look a certain way, have a certain accent. Hell, your kids might look a certain way, and you might not look like them, but they will. They pulling white folks over too. Let's be true. Let's be true about it. They pulling white folks over too. Hey, QT, how are you, sweetheart? Let me get off my soapbox and let this woman finish.
And on a very basic level, trust means parents are not afraid to let their children go to school or church. Business owners are able to open and thrive off of their hard work of being business owners. The trust is fragile right now, and it is essential. It is an essential element to public safety. Today, that trust is being damaged, broken, by the questionable and sometimes unethical actions of some federal agents, particularly in these last recent weeks. I want to be clear that I am not saying all federal agents, as all of us know that we have become victim. If somebody or one person in law enforcement does something wrong, we all pay the cost. We cannot afford to be stereotyping or generalizing anyone. Our communities have less trust in all law enforcement when this happens, not just the federal agents, but our local law enforcement, and we're here to stay. Those harmful actions causes a ripple effect through all of our professions and through all of our agencies. What I want to assure you is we are here because we all believe that our jobs are to be done professionally, lawfully, and obviously treating people with dignity and respect. Not just marginalized communities, but every single person who calls Minnesota home. This moment is the time to do what's right. We demand more from our federal government, more professionalism, more accountability, more humanity. We demand lawful policing that respects human dignity. We should not be at a point in this profession or any profession where you have to teach people how to treat people.
And you know what? Sometimes we got to teach them in a way in which they understand. Now, I'm not talking about being violent or anything like that. However, I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say it. I'm just gonna go ahead and let her finish, because you know what? Sometimes you got to get with the get right in order to get them straight. And there's ways around. Look, do you guys see them going into the hoods of LA? I don't think so. Not the way they'd like to.
This is the same demand we have for our own public safety professionals who serve, live, raise their own children in our communities every day. I can tell you at the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office, our deputies will continue to serve and always have, professionally, lawfully, and with the respect of every person's humanity, as I'm sure all of these agencies that are represented here today are also doing. And with that, we will all continue to show up, even though times are hard, even though our law enforcement is exhausted, they're being challenged, they're having to go home and face their own families and answer these questions. We are lucky to have
Just DB4IS. I got to address this real quick. Just DB4IS said, why would they do that? What does Black Panthers have to do with ICE? Doesn't make sense to me. Let me just tell you, Jess, the Black Panther Party, let's just say back in the 60s, especially, when we as a people were going through this very thing, fighting for our rights, it was the Black Panther Party that held many of us up as a community. So that is why the Black Panther Party would be definitely involved in something like this with regard to ICE, because it's a violation against our rights. What's happening is a violation against our rights. It's no different than it was in the 60s. So unless maybe you weren't around here at that time, I don't know. But the Black Panther Party did more than just protest. They fed the hungry. They took care of children when parents were unable to do so because they had to get out there and work to take care of these kids. Black Panther Party has been more than just a bunch of black folks wearing dashikis or black leather jackets and afros. So I would definitely recommend Jess B4IS. Please check it out. Like I just saw someone say in the chat, do a Google search on the Black Panther Party. Just do a Google search and see the relevance of why the Black Panther Party would become involved with this outcry.
Have men and women in this profession that continue to show up despite the adversity. So we want to thank you for having us here today. And at this time, we'll take questions. And yes, sorry.
Can you talk about kind of the emotional distance that are engaged between wanting to put criminals away and seeing the constitutional violation, the racial profiling that is part of this vast operation here with that as the same goal?
Good morning. My name is Imran Ali. I am RANALI. I'm an attorney here in Minnesota. Work a lot with law enforcement from corner to corner. I think it is. I mean, that is exactly what it is. That's a very difficult, issue that's before us. But the reality still remains is that the Constitution applies to everyone, and we have, and I think it's echoed, with the speakers that we've had today. We have federal ICE officers that are in their line of duty, right? They have to do what they do, right? I mean, they're ordered to do so, and they're carrying out those lawful efforts. And what we see, though, is we see people that are obstructing in that. As a lawyer, that's still a violation of the law. What we can do is we can talk about the tactics and the emotion that's there, and there's a place for that, and that place is to be discussed a lot, and also in the courtroom. And so, to give pause that what's happening here, there are mechanisms in place. There are lawsuits that we all know about. We've seen them almost every day. Something's going out. Those will play out in the court. But what can't happen, what cannot happen, is video after video of our local law enforcement officers being yelled at and threatened to by the public when they're simply there to work on behalf of the community. And I've heard from dozens and dozens of officers, and I've seen those videos. That can't happen. And that's what is increasing this temperature. It's the rhetoric and what we're seeing.
Chief Burley, Morgan Wilson with Care 11. You said that you've been in touch with the Department of Homeland Security, right? Can you elaborate more on who you were in contact with? And did they say there will be any accountability for these actions of their agents?
Yeah, the question was about contacting authorities in Homeland Security or ICE, Border Patrol, and what was, and is there going to be any accountability from them conversations? Great question, complex answer. I've reached out to anybody that's willing to hear. One of the real concerning problems that I have with this surge in the metro is the span of control, and that There's so many different groups that do not know what other groups are doing or who is out at any location. And so when you call ICE leadership, or you call Border Patrol leadership, or you call Homeland Security leadership, they're unable to tell you what their people were doing that day. They're hard to find a leader to give you to.
Hold on just a second. Let me address just a little something. DJ9356 says, funny thing is illegals go to these sanctuary cities and live in black neighborhoods where they are treated better than blacks. Would they protest for us? I'm not protesting for illegals. I am against the unconstitutional treatment of ICE, the brutality of ICE against U.S. citizens. Let me make that very clear. And let me also say, Barack Obama got rid of the most illegal aliens out of this country when he was in office. And we didn't have to talk about ICE or what's going on because it was done according to the law. He paid attention to the law. Now, you can take that for what it's worth. But no, I don't think that they would protest for us, but that's not the point. I'm not protesting for illegals. I'm protesting against ICE tactics. Point blank, period.
They like to give you a website to go file a complaint, but the complaint requires identity of the agents. The agents don't have name tags on. They cover their face. They don't have body cameras. And the groups that seem heavily through Border Patrol that are running up and down streets, there's no indication where they are any given day. So what I get is lots of questions that I'm unable to answer about who did what or where they did it. What I will tell you is I have contacts through 30 years of law enforcement with many different agents in ICE, HSI, and others. And those individuals who I've spoken to make several things clear to me.
Okay, hold up. The comment that I have on the screen right now, UTRJG, that's my grandson. For those of you who do not know, my grandson's name is Xavion. This is his comment. He is in the chat right now. And he says there was ICE at his school today. He is in the 7th grade. 7th grade. Now, sweetheart, when I get off of this live, I need to talk to you and see what happened. But this is how disturbing this is. My grandson is in the chat right now telling us that ICE was at his school today. He is in his first year of middle school. These are not teenagers. Yes, kids can be illegal as well, but there is a way to go about doing things, DJ. So, Xavion, you and I will have a discussion in a little while. Okay, sorry about that, y'all. When I see my grandbaby in the chat saying that, I had to stop.
This is not right. They see it occurring and absolutely believe it needs to stop immediately. And they want to make it quick that it's not their groups. They're aware that there are groups that seem to be have less supervision that they believe are involved in this. But the vast majority of these groups are doing focused, legitimate immigration work that they're tasked to do, and it's well within the bounds of being legal. So.
Alex Capriello of the News Nation. To that point, you allege that there seems to be a small contingency of federal agents that are operating under this racial profiling strategy.
Okay, hold on a minute. Let me get some people straight up in this motherfucker. I'm trying to be civil, okay? But dirt and mud or whatever the hell your damn name is, I done told everybody, you're free to be here. and you can share your opinion, but damn it, you gonna come up in here and be respectful. So with that said, fuck you too. Goodbye. I'm not playing with you. I'm not playing with you folks. They want to come up in here. I put an open panel up here, an open platform for people to share their opinions. But when you want to come in here and spew your little nasty mouth to me, I'm going to give it right back to you and your mammy. So please, if you want to be here and say what's on your mind, be respectful. That's the problem now in this country. People don't have no respect for each other. None. But you'll respect a bunch of clowns running around that don't know half of the job they're supposed to be doing because they're not properly trained. You respect that. You'll respect a orange orangutan running this damn country that can't spell his damn name right now. You respect that. So please, don't come up in here talking that bullshit. You guys have selective respect. Makes me wonder how you respect yourself.
Strategy. What evidence or proof do you have that this is not something that's coming from the top down, from the highest ranks of our federal government?
The evidence I have, the question is what evidence do I have that this is not coming from orders from the top, from Washington, D.C. to act this way? One, I just fundamentally don't believe that. Our federal government and partners that we've worked with, that I've worked with for 30 years, have an exemplary record performing exceptional law enforcement services. When we had horrific events this summer and partnered with some of the finest men and women that I've ever had the benefit to be around to help us investigate a very complex political assassination. I've seen the best of what the federal government has. This is not it in a small group. With that said, is what we see every day, the context that we have are agents that are working really hard in a really tough situation to do it right. I just fundamentally don't believe that it's coming from the top. In fact, I believe that I don't think the leaders in Washington, D.C. fully understand what some of their groups are doing here on the street and how much damage that they're causing. And that's why we are here to kind of bring this to light. What evidence is the question that you asked? What actual evidence do I have? None other than agents that I've talked to and leadership in certain groups of teams have made it clear that this is unacceptable behavior, that they've never been told this is okay. In fact, that they know it's not okay. They're held accountable to a higher standard, which makes me believe that what I fundamentally believe that this is a small group of individuals performing this. And I will be honest, this really to me started 2 weeks ago, which feels like was the last surge of Border Patrol when they arrived, is when we started seeing this really change of behavior where it's street level jump outs or traffic stops, which the federal government is not allowed to do traffic stops and tell people that they're stopping them for speeding, which is what we're seeing. That's not allowed. They are not able to do that. They need to have reasonable suspicion that some.
You guys heard what he said. They're not allowed to stop people driving down the street. They have to have a reasonable suspicion. And not just because they look a certain way. Not even because they have a certain accent. That is constitutionally against the law. But we'll get into that a little later.
Somebody is here illegally for them to stop them whether on the street or the other stop them in a vehicle. So
what is a small group? Are you talking about dozens of agents, a handful of agents?
The question is, what is a small group? I absolutely have no idea. This is far outside of my purview as a local police chief. But what I do know is it's really impacting my community, what my community does and how they feel. And it's impacting our brand as police officers, our brand of how hard we work to build trust, to police in a way that builds legitimacy in what we do. And when people armed with rifles that have just police across their vest get out and act a certain way, of course, our public thinks that's us. Many agencies that you've probably seen, and many of them are behind me, have had to put out pamphlets showing what what a Brooklyn Park police officer looks like and what an ICE agent looks like, to make sure that we tell community they are different. Those are not Brooklyn Park officers or St. Paul officers or Brooklyn Center officers. Those are ICE agents. To answer your question specifically, I have no idea what groups or who it is or how many, but I know it is a small portion of the whole.
Chief Burley, one more follow-up. What message do you think it sends to the public if you, a police chief, you've had decades of law enforcement experience, what message does it send to the public when you are having a hard time getting answers from the Department of Homeland Security?
Yeah, the question is, what message does it send to the community if I, as a police chief, have a hard time getting answers? How does that leave the community for them to get answers? I think it makes them feel lost. It makes them feel concerned. It makes them feel fearful. And that's why we're here today.
Chief Derek James, competitive. With KSDP, really hard, particularly or any of the law enforcement leaders, they're getting these complaints. I'm wondering, is there anything that your agencies are you investigating?
Okay, I'm not really hearing these questions, so I'm gonna move on to. I'm gonna just move forward with this because we'll be here all night debating this issue. But what I did want to say is that I did do a little deep dive into what rights we have as U.S. citizens. And I had heard an elderly gentleman, I believe I played a video of him on yesterday, 79-year-old man who is now bringing a $50 million lawsuit against ICE for coming into his business and assaulting him. Well, for one time, they ran right by him and knocked him down. He attempted to go outside to explain to the ICE agents who was basically there to grab some of his employees. They were all legal citizens. They were documented. Thank you, Tawana. Thank you. So good to see you, sweetheart. But he had employees employed for him at his car wash, and they came full force to his place of business to take away some of his employees, which he had actual verification that they were legal here. Okay. And so when I looked at the video again, he was going on to give his take on what happened to him. It was in a video, and he stated that he observed at the detention center that there were children. Children were shackled and handcuffed, which I thought was just, what? Children, little children, young children. Yes, they have actually arrested some illegals, Lisa. And I don't have a problem with that, especially since Trump promised to get the worst of the worst out of here. And absolutely, they should get the worst of the worst out of here. But now you've moved away from worst of the worst, and now you're going after everybody. Everybody. So, with that said, I took a little deep dive into ChatGPT, and I asked a question. Let me find it for you, because it sure did give me a long answer. Okay. This is just pertaining to children. Bear with me just a moment. Good grief, where is it? And it pertained to, like I said, it pertained to the detainment of children. Okay, here it goes. I said, what are ICE's policies regarding capture and detainment of parents of young children when the children are present? For instance, waiting at a bus stop, ICE suddenly shows up and takes the parents away, leaving the children alone. Because this is exactly what has been reportedly happening out there. People sitting at the bus stop, ICE comes along, takes the parent, and the child is left there alone. Now, y'all, come on now. Y'all got to know that's wrong. Even the worst of even those that are supporting this whole thing, you got to admit that that can't happen. You can't just leave children out there after snatching up their parents. So let me read you the response. It says, below is a policy accurate, plain English explanation of what ICE policy requires when officers encounter parents or guardians of young children during an arrest, especially when the children are physically present at a bus stop, outside a home, or in public. This applies to U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, including both ERO deportation officers and HSI special agents, and is grounded in ICE policy, DHS guidance, and constitutional standards. Governing policies. What controls these situations? ICE conduct involving parents with children present is governed by ICE Parental Interest Directive, commonly referred to as the Parental Interest Policy, ICE Use of Force Policy, DHS Civil Immigration Enforcement Priorities, Fifth Amendment Due Process, and Fourth Amendment Reasonableness. The key principle is ICE enforcement actions must take into account the safety, care, and welfare of children. Capture when children are present, what ICE policy requires. This is in their policies. Children must not be left alone. ICE policy is explicit. ICE officers may not leave minor children unattended as a result of an arrest. If a parent or legal guardian is taken into custody and children are present, officers must ensure a safe handoff. This includes another parent or legal guardian, a trusted adult caregiver identified by the parent, child welfare authorities only as a last resort. Children left alone at a bus stop, sidewalk, or public area violates policy. Officers must ask about care arrangements. Officers are required to ask the parent if they are responsible for a child, ask who can care for the child, allow reasonable time for arrangements to be made. Rushing an arrest without addressing child safety is prohibited. Coordination with child welfare is a last resort. ICE policy prefers family placement, trusted caregivers, only then local child protective services. ICE does not have authority to abandon children or let CPS sort it out without first attempting family-based solutions. Arrest timing and discretion. ICE policy instructs officers to consider whether enforcement can be delayed, whether arrest can occur away from children, whether the situation involves a sensitive location like near schools, bus stops. While not an absolute ban, officers are expected to use discretion when children are present. No punitive separation. ICE policy forbids using separation of children as leverage, threatening to involve CPS as intimidation, removing a parent solely to cause distress. Separation must be incidental and minimized, not strategic. And last but not least, documentation is required. If a parent is arrested while children are present, officers must document the steps taken to ensure child safety. Supervisors may review the arrest. Failures can trigger internal investigation or civil liability. In a nutshell, when it comes to children, this is just about the children. This is just one example of what's going on out there that's unlawful and against their own policies. What ICE policy explicitly forbids: leaving children alone in public, walking away from children after arresting a parent, ignoring pleas to arrange childcare, arrests that knowingly strand minors, threatening parents with CPS as leverage, treating child welfare as not our problem. And there are legal consequences when policy is violated. When ICE arrests a parent and leaves children unattended, courts have found due process violations, unreasonable seizure claims, negligence and tort liability, state child endangerment implications. This is why family separation related lawsuits frequently focus on capture phase conduct, not just detention conditions. And in plain English, ICE cannot take a parent away and leave their children behind. If children are present, officers must pause, plan, and ensure safe care. A bus stop arrest that leaves young children alone is not a gray area. It is contrary to ICE policy and exposes the government to significant liability. That's just one thing I came up into. I'd be all night if I was trying to read everything I pulled up last night. But absolutely, Lisa, the lawsuits will be massive. Massive lawsuits. This is the condition that we're facing as a country. It's not just the brutality of it all. It's the monetary implications when I mean, come on now. Once you find out that somebody is legally here after you've detained them for about 9 hours to 3 days, the legal implications are going to be monumental. And who do you think is going to pay for that? Us. Us, the taxpayers. We will have to bear the brunt, inevitably, of those lawsuits. Is it lawful to handcuff and shackle young children during an arrest of a parent? Short answer, no. As a rule, it is not lawful under ICE policy or constitutional standards to handcuff or shackle young children during the arrest of a parent, except in the rarest extreme circumstances involving an immediate safety threat posed by the child themselves. Below is the policy-accurate, law-based explanation, not rhetoric. Governing authority. This question is controlled by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Use of force policy. This is their policy, y'all. U.S. Immigration, DHS use of force guidelines, ICE parental interest directive, Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment, due process, shock the conscious standard. ICE policy, children are not enforcement targets. Children are not enforcement targets. I'm going to say that again. Children are not targets of enforcement. ICE policy is explicit that children present during an arrest are not the subjects of enforcement. The core rule is restraints may only be used on a person who poses an articulable safety threat or flight risk. Young children categorically do not meet that standard in ordinary arrest scenarios. Handcuffing or shackling children, what policy says? Now, this is the policy of ICE, y'all. Presumptively prohibited. ICE policy does not authorize handcuffing children, shackling children, using zip ties, flex cuffs, or leg restraints on minors, using restraints to control a scene, using restraints because a child is crying, panicking, or clinging to a parent. Doing so violates ICE's force continuum rules, which require least intrusive means. Now, this is not to say that children have been arrested. This is not what I'm saying. This has been observed just in a detainment situation. As I stated earlier when I brought up this information, there have been reports of them rolling up on parents at the bus stop with their kids. They snatch up the parents and leave the kids sitting there by themselves. There's other issues of arresting a parent and detaining the child off to the side using a shackle. This is not constitutional. It is not constitutional. And I have no problem with them trying to get the elite, the worst of the worst out of here. I have no problem with that. I have no problem with that whatsoever. But this is getting out of hand because now you've got more U.S. citizens being thrown into the mix based on what they look like. Based on what they look like. And I don't give a damn, not me, about how many came in under Biden. We ain't talking about how many came in. We talking about the ones we getting out of here. How they got here is now irrelevant. How we get them out of here. No, these are not old rules, Rapperit. These are as of yesterday. These are not old rules. But you're free to look it up. If you can find something better, let me know. So I really implore you guys, please, just understand your rights. Understand who we're dealing with. Understand. This is unconstitutional how some of these agents are behaving. You don't have to be brutal. It reminds me of how police treated black people back in the civil rights time and the civil rights movement, hosing them down like animals. You can accomplish a goal without all that. Point blank, period. You can accomplish a goal without going through all that. And all this deflection about Biden and Obama and all this stuff, how they got here, does not address the problem at hand. Exactly, not me. They can't legally enter people's homes without a warrant. And I mean a judge-signed warrant. Not that bullshit that they carry around, a piece of paper that has no signature on it. Like the woman that it was a daycare and they bam-rammed her door in. They bam-rammed her door in, went in there, took her husband out of there, Come to find out, when they went before a judge found that he was illegally removed from the home and was ordered to get him out of detention and send him home. This is the kind of stuff that's happening. And if it happened to them, it can happen to somebody else right here that lives in that area. It can happen to anybody of color. Now, I'm not gonna say who's white, black, purple, blue, green up in here. But here's the thing. What's it gonna take? Is it gonna take for a loved one of yours? Is it gonna take a loved one of yours? Catwalk, what is the federal law? You said, what is the federal law for handcuffing a minor? I don't know. Why don't you go look that up and let me know? Because I'm not talking about the federal law. I'm talking about ICE's policies. If they're prohibited by ICE, chances are the federal law reads the same. Moving on. So apparently they're having some trouble in the ICE world in terms of a lot of the officers are getting a lot of backlash and they don't want to do the job. Because I got to give it, they're definitely under scrutiny. So with that said, I'm going to pull the video up so you can see this video. Stand by just a second.
We've got some fascinating reporting coming from friend of the show, Ken Klippenstein, of what is going on inside of ICE and Border Patrol, which seems to be experiencing a bit of a crisis of morale, possibly linked to the fact that they shot a mom in the face last week. Might be that. It might be other stuff. I'm not sure. But anyway, they've apparently been wanting to surge in Minnesota, send more troops because 2,000 to 3,000 isn't enough, I suppose. And
I'm sorry. This is the Damage Report. They're a YouTube channel right here on YouTube. And this is their video. Shout out to the Damage Report.
They've taken to asking for volunteers to sign up, and apparently they're not getting as many as they would like. And according to Ken Klippenstein, by the way, you can go to kenklippenstein.com to find all of his reporting and other leaked documents that he got on ICE. He says a Border Patrol agent familiar with the discussion said the volunteer push reflects a real unease in the ranks about the good shooting in Minneapolis and the related surge. Quote, "We do have personnel, but some just don't want to go." Yeah, maybe they don't want to be affiliated with that. Maybe they don't want to have the people of Minnesota rightly just shower them with insults. Maybe they've seen the videos of ICE unable to literally walk on ice and they're just worried about bruising their tuchuses. I don't know, but they do seem to have a problem with Minnesota recently. One of the sources at Homeland Security said to Ken, there might be some immature knuckleheads who think they're out there trying to capture Nicolas Maduro, but most field officers see a clear need for de-escalation. There's genuine fear that indeed ICE's heavy-handedness and the rhetoric from Washington is more creating a condition where the officers' lives are in danger rather than the other way around. So I think that you could go too far with that and say that, like, that's basically what Tom Homan is saying, is the idea that, oh, everybody's against us and so we might kill people or whatever. I personally think that it's strange that we have infinitely higher standards and expectations for protesters than we do the highly paid, if not highly trained officers of ICE and Border Patrol. But I do get that the public has turned against them. There's now net support for abolishing ICE. Not good for ICE here. And the DHS official says an increasing number of Homeland Security workers are concerned about the public backlash, saying, quote, the claim is that recruiting is up, but there's also dread that the gung-ho types that ICE and the Border Patrol are bringing in have a propensity towards confrontation and even violence. Key word is it's on a voluntary basis signing up. If no experienced senior agents step up, they send the new guys straight out of the academy with their 47 days of training. Not a good idea. In a nutshell, it's us versus them on steroids. And
47 days of training. Not me says 6 weeks training for ICE, correct. 47 days of training. And I'm wondering if that includes crowd control. I'm just throwing that out there. I'm wondering if they're trained for crowd control. Because it seems that there seems to be a problem when it comes down to protesters and not being able to avoid the confrontation of words. Sometimes they do get in their feelings. And that's just an observation. That's my own opinion. You may not agree with me. But I'm just wondering if that training involves crowd control. Stand by.
I think some Border Patrol agents are more willing to use force and not feel restrained when you got DHS leadership lying to cover for them. For example, Kristi Noem lying her ass off. What happened is like saying to the federal agents on the ground, go ahead and do whatever you have to do. We got your back. We will find a way to justify it. And in a moment, we're going to get into more of the internal documents that Ken got leaked. But Sharon, it is, you would think maybe like if they wanted to improve morale, turn public opinion back towards them, maybe they could tell their officers to stop producing these absolutely abhorrent videos that are flooding social media where they're just threatening activists. They're bragging about their pay. Like there's no professionalism whatsoever amongst them. They're being explicitly political, fist bumping, like alt-right content creators and that sort of thing. I feel like if there is a crisis for ICE, it's a crisis that they entirely created for themselves. But what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the only people who took this job, which by the way was supposed to be easy money, as you said, only 47 days of training, bonuses that you don't necessarily have the skill set to command, all kinds of things. But now you're on the job and you're acting like the buffoons who would sign up for this. You already knew what it was. This guy, Trump, told us exactly what he was going to do. And then he said about doing it, and a lot of these people joined. It's just like, you know, when you talk about the bad police forces out there.
Not me said exactly what she's saying. They're bragging about executing Renee Good. Their words. You're absolutely right. I mean, the attitude behind it is just deplorable. And again, it's inhumane. It's very cruel and inhumane.
There's a certain kind of psychological profile that races off to a police department, can't make it anywhere else, some of these people, because they want to be in positions of power over other people. They want to exert power, force, unnecessarily so. They're not reasonable. This is the type that you are attracting.
Yeah. No, 100%. You know, we 47 days of training. So they get roughly twice as much training as new producers on this show get. And by the way, at least to my knowledge, none of my producers have ever shot anybody in the face. So we've got a better track record and in half the training time. Hilo's really worked up about this as well. He's not happy about what's going on with ICE. And yeah, there's the stuff about their inability to read or write, their inability to pass, physical fitness standards. And I am sure Jamie Raskin is calling for investigations into this. Like, if they were to investigate, how many militia members do you think are in ICE now? How many former insurrectionists are in ICE? How many people with violent crimes in their past? I mean, they used to join up in militias because they're like, I want to be able to dominate somebody. And that
there is no documentation that any of the people that have joined ICE are militia leaders or anything like that. I'm just putting that out there. This is all opinion in terms of what the individual here is saying. It wouldn't surprise me, but again, this is not documented information in terms of who is exactly getting hired on with ICE. And they do face background checks and whatnot, dealing with their criminal history, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm just, hey, of all fairness, let me just put that out there.
That's how I would do that. Now they're being told, yeah, you could do it. We're going to send you to a blue city. You could go take it out on Somalis or whatever if you want. And so that's definitely an investigation waiting to be done. But let's turn now to Ken got leaked some really fascinating documents out of ICE and Border Patrol. And there's some guidance about, how they're supposed to act in certain situations. And
okay, Raptor It. You said just looked it up. You cannot sue ICE agents. Nobody said anything about suing ICE agents. We're talking about suing the federal government. They are under the umbrella of the federal government, specifically ICE. ICE can be sued as a result of the people that work for them and their actions. Maybe an individual cannot be sued. An individual agent may not be able to be sued. But under no circumstances does it say that ICE can't be sued.
And we know that they're acting however they want in every situation, but at least according to the PowerPoint presentations, they are being told that passive resistance alone is not conduct under the oft-cited regulation that you'll see them screaming at activists in viral videos. Saying, example, non-compliance, refusal to cooperate with officers' commands, disobeying commands without fighting back, taking photographs or videotaping an officer or operation in public. Those are all just things that you are allowed to do, or you should be allowed to do, but ICE now could arrest you, could detain you, could beat the crap out of you if you do those things that are your constitutional right as United States citizens. They specifically say profanity or personal insults directed at officers is allowed, rude gestures, arguing with officers, challenging their authority, no matter what Cartman says, talking back to officers during police contact. You can do all of this. And as a reminder, they are not cops.
Raptor says defense, claiming the agent was making a high-pressure split-second decision that is immune from lawsuits. How about if he's standing in front of the vehicle, which is against their own policy? See, with every defense, there's an offense.
They're not supposed to be interacting in this way with regular people. They're supposed to be doing the immigration stuff and then bringing in cops if there's a crime that a non-migrant is committing. They are violating every bit of this. And they are violating it because they know there is extremely unlikely any consequences coming for it. There should be. Right now, they're not. And how could there be? We don't even get to know who these people are. They are literally the secret police. Hell, the secret police in most old school fascistic regimes didn't even cover their face. You, in theory, could take a photo of them. We've taken it a step further. And I don't hear nearly enough being proposed to solve this. I saw Ken had tweeted out that Representative Richie Torres he has a bill.
Lisa, I wasn't talking about what this guy was saying. I was answering Raptor It. Just for clarification.
That he wants to put a QR code on all of their jackets or whatever that you can scan to get their identity. Why don't we just take the masks off and have their name there? Like, we solved this problem a long time ago. And so you can do all these things, or at least you should be able to. If they violate your rights when you've done these things, you can and should sue. But Sharon, I know that the system is set up, obviously, that these regulations, it's not really what rules the day anymore. But what do you think?
No, but it's still good. I think you have to resist at every single turn. File every single lawsuit. The problem is, as you alluded to, it doesn't help in the moment. Doesn't keep people safe. Doesn't keep people competent. It reduces us to fear and doing things after the fact. It's like being on your heels. But I still think it's a positive step to say we're going to still resist, we're going to pass measures, we're going to insist on some oversight, which is like a non-existent tool anymore. That's what we should be doing.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to give you let me pull up an article for you. Hold on just a second. Share my screen here for you. With regard to training, according to NBC News, ICE error meant some recruits were sent into the field offices without proper training, sources say. An AI tool used to help ICE identify potential new recruits with law enforcement experience wrongly categorized some potential new officers, sources say. As Immigration and Customs Enforcement was racing to add 10,000 new officers to its force, an artificial intelligence error in how their applications were processed sent many new recruits into field offices without proper training. According to 2 law enforcement officials familiar with the error. The AI tool used by ICE was tasked with looking for potential applicants with law enforcement experience to be placed into the agency's LEO program, short for Law Enforcement Officer, for new recruits who are already law enforcement officers. It requires 4 weeks of online training. Applicants Wait a minute, where did it go? There it goes. Applicants without law enforcement backgrounds are required to take an 8-week in-person course at ICE's Academy at the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center in Georgia, which includes courses in immigration law and handling a gun, as well as physical fitness tests. They were using AI to scan resumes and found out a bunch of the people who were Leos weren't Leos, one of the officials said. The AI tool was initially the mechanism used to categorize resumes, the official said, and flagged anyone with the word officer on their resumes. For example, a compliance officer or people who said they aspired to be ICE officers. The majority of the new applicants were flagged as law enforcement officers, the official said, but many had no experience in any local police or federal law enforcement force. Both law enforcement officials noted that ICE's field offices provide more training beyond what is provided at the academy or in the online course before officers are sent out onto the street, and that the officers singled out by the AI tool most likely received that training. The officials weren't authorized to speak publicly and spoke to NBC News on condition of anonymity. A DHS spokesperson called it a technological snag that was quickly rectified and said it impacted about 200 hires who then reported to the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center for full training. The spokesperson said that no candidate was placed on enforcement duties without appropriate training and credentials. The vast majority of new officers brought on during the hiring surge are experienced law enforcement officers who have already successfully completed a law enforcement academy, the spokesperson said. The AI mistake was identified in mid-fall, over a month into the recruitment surge, and ICE immediately began taking steps to remedy the situation, including manual reviews of resumes of new hires, the official said. As the immigration agency surges agents into American cities, their enforcement tactics are increasingly questioned by law enforcement, community groups, and lawmakers following the shooting death of Renee Nicole Good in Minneapolis by ICE officer Jonathan Ross. This thing keeps jumping. Ross had more than 10 years of experience with ICE and wouldn't have been subject to the AI screening for new recruits. The error highlights the challenge of training such a large number of new recruits as ICE continues to ramp up operations to boost deportation numbers amid pressure from the White House. Hold on just a second. Okay, Michael McNamara, I guess that's your name. Since you want to come in here and be disrespectful, let me just escort you out of here. And back to you. F you too. Oh, Jesus. It just does it. Let's see, where was I? ICE has also placed some new recruits into a training program before they completed the agency's vetting process, NBC News has reported. In Minneapolis alone, more than 2,000 ICE officers have been sent to the area to boost arrests, and they have apprehended over 2,400 people since November 29th, DSH spokesperson Tricia McLaughlin said. Minnesota has sued to try to remove DHS. ICE had a mandate to hire 10,000 new officers by the end of 2025 and offered new recruits $50,000 signing bonuses using the money Congress allocated under the One Big Beautiful Bill. One of the officials said that although ICE met the goal on paper, bringing back people who were misidentified for more training means it didn't successfully add 10,000 ICE officers on the street in 2025. And I believe, let me make sure I'm playing the right video. Let me share this with you as well. Okay, hold on just a second. I'll pull up this video. I'm sorry. Hold on. Okay.
Some exclusive reporting about an apparent error in the ICE recruitment system that meant some officers got sent into field offices without proper training. Apparently, ICE uses this AI tool to categorize new recruits who have worked in law enforcement before. But there was some kind of a glitch, according to our reporting with it, that led to ICE temporarily putting recruits with little to no experience into a more experienced category, meaning they got less training, according to two law enforcement officials familiar with this error. It's not clear if any of these recruits actually went out into the streets, but we, of course, are learning about this as we're seeing ICE send more officers into cities across the U.S., like Minneapolis, where there's been a surge of agents in the past month. Now, the officer who shot Renee Good is not one of those who did not get the entirety of the training. He's been with ICE for quite a bit. He's been with ICE for something like 10 years. The Department of Homeland Security hasn't responded to our request for comment. Now, we're also learning tonight that that officer had internal bleeding to the torso after the shooting, according to what was confirmed by the Department of Homeland Security. I want to bring in Julia Ainsley, who's joining us now. ICE was surging, right? I mean, this was the thing. They were trying to build up their numbers here to be able to go out and carry out President Trump's immigration agenda.
Yeah, they had the mandate to hire 10,000 new recruits after the One Big Beautiful Bill passed, and they had to do it by the end of 2025.
So yeah, they had to get this done by the end of 2025. So hold on just a second. Let me start this back up. Hold on just a second.
So an easy way to do that is to find people who already have law enforcement experience, and they only have to do a 4-week online class, and then they're sent to their field office. Field office trains them a little more, and then they can go out. But what happened is AI went through these resumes, and anytime they saw the word officer, even if it was, I aspire to be an ICE officer, or I was a compliance officer, all these other ways, they automatically put them in the law enforcement officer field, which meant they didn't go to the ICE Academy, which is 8-week in-person training. You get trained on things like the Fourth Amendment, when you can break the window of someone's car, how to handle your gun, physical fitness tests, things that are really a barrier to entry on purpose so that people know how to go out in the field and do law enforcement work. And so people were miscategorized and sent out into these field offices. And now what we're told is they're doing a scrubbing to try to go through, find all these people who went out without the proper training, bring them back to training before they go out again. So yes, even though we don't know how many of these may have gone out onto the streets, they went to field offices. So that's the green light. They were able to go out and start making arrests.
What's the timeline to, for lack of a better word, fix this, or to bring them back, get them actually trained, and then send them back out?
Well, they started reviewing this in mid-November, but it's a huge pool of people. They hired about 10,000 people since August, as they were told to do. So they've got to go through all those people. They're still doing it now. And then they now have to put them through 8 weeks of training. What used to be 13 weeks of training, Trump administration changed it to 8, but they still have to get those. So it really is kind of winding back the clock on this goal that the Trump administration had, and raising questions about who's out on the streets right now as this tension is rising.
Well, I'm curious as to how many completed the training, and how much time elapsed from the time they were actually put out there to get the training and then put on the streets. Because these are brand new recruits. A lot of them are out there basically as new recruits. Whether they've gone through the training or not, it makes you wonder.
Talk about Minneapolis then.
Yeah.
That's what you're referring to. Is any of this, have a nexus to, do we know what's been happening in Minneapolis?
Yeah, well, look, they added 2,000 ICE officers to the streets of Minneapolis just 2 days before the shooting of Renee Nicole Good. And we know that of those, many of them had to be new recruits because they're beefing up this agency. Now, how many of those in Minneapolis didn't get the training that they needed? We don't know that. We're not connecting all of those dots yet, but it's raising questions about the vetting system. We already knew there were some people who were showing up at training who hadn't passed their background checks and who did have criminal histories. So it's yet another time where we're learning that in this rush to hire more people and to get them out on the streets, there's some really serious errors that were made. And then look, even when you do have someone with 10 years of experience like this officer, things can happen.
To be clear, no response from DHS on your new reporting?
No response from DHS. And I should say, of course, the investigation is still playing out into what happened with that officer as well.
Julia Ainsley, thank you very much for that. Appreciate it.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay.
So again, I wonder how many may have fallen through the cracks. I wonder just how many have fallen through the cracks. And Bovine, she did not run over the man. Come on. I don't know what you're letting what your fearless leader told you. He said he ran him over. He was not run over. He didn't even go to the ground. Okay. And there's debate as to whether or not she even touched him. Wow, she was lying. She see her nose. Wow. You guys kill me. You guys are so disrespectful. I tell you. Why you got to talk about the woman's nose? Come on now. But it was kind of big. I gotta say. But nevertheless, all jokes aside, let me go ahead with one other video. Now, this is a viral video that has a lot of people outraged. And I just thought I'd throw this in for good measure.
Chaos continues to unfold in Minneapolis and in Minnesota. The administration continues to threaten escalation. Trump is now threatening to invoke the Insurrection Act. Meanwhile, we want to keep you updated on just what it feels like to be on the ground. So let's go to this first clip that captures a moment in which somebody was grabbed by ICE off the street.
Yes, you are required to. Where are you safe? Look, sir, you're gonna do this the easy way, or are we gonna take you in? You cannot take me in. Yes, I can. Private. Yes, I can. Do you have documentation? I do have my documentation. You present it to me. Why are you asking me for my paperwork? Because of your accent. I still. You have an accent too. Where were you born, sir? Where were you born at? Put your hands behind your back.
This is how they're doing people. This is exactly what I'm saying with regard to violation of their rights. This gentleman was walking down the street and was approached because of his accent. This is a blatant disregard for the Constitution. No, Bovine, no. The Constitution does not say anything about ID laws. You are required to identify yourself. It has to be probable cause. Now, what is the probable cause? You cannot approach somebody without probable cause. No warrant or anything. Asking their name is not a federal order. Come on.
So, Dan, we have somebody basically being grabbed off the street, and the officer explicitly saying, "I'm asking for your papers because you have an accent."
Yeah, it embodies everything that's happening here. It's just a bunch of guys on a power trip without any.
Did you see him out there rioting and obstructing ICE? The dude was walking down the damn street, Bovine. Come on, man. He's outside. That's the only thing you can come up with. And rioting and obstructing ICE by walking down the doggone street. You guys pull stuff out of your ass left and right to justify this behavior. I hope to God it never happens to you. And I'm sure it won't. For obvious reasons.
Concern for due process.
You don't know that. You don't know what he was doing out there. The video shows him walking down the street. So you don't know that. Don't tell me what the hell I don't know. I'm showing you what the video says. He's walking down the street. And Rod Rowdy, you can get the fuck out. I done told you people about being disrespectful up in here. Oh, I know he's a troll. Deport them all. Well, I hope you go with them. How about that? Get out of here.
Or, any of our other constitutional rights, just insisting someone do someone. If they don't do it, they arrest them.
We're here in Los Angeles, and obviously Trump had deployed the military here. There have been periods in which ICE was doing a big crackdown, a big showy crackdown here. And Trump would describe Los Angeles as a hellhole and a war zone, but it didn't feel that way on the ground. You hear reports about ICE being at a Home Depot. You hear reports about ICE coalescing around other parts of the city. You felt the presence. You knew it was going on, but it didn't feel like it was happening everywhere because Los Angeles as a city is a big place, and ICE didn't have the scale, didn't feel like it was bringing the scale to match the size of Los Angeles. It is just not that way in Minneapolis. And what is clear when you talk to friends and family in Minneapolis, when you hear reports from Minneapolis, is what we are seeing is what it feels like. They really are everywhere. They really are having a big impact on what it feels like to live and work and go to school in Minneapolis, because everywhere you go, there is a possibility that a group of guys are going to jump out of an unmarked car wearing masks to interrogate you, or to go after the people following them, or to get rough with protesters, throw people into holding cells because they're annoying them, I guess. And you see that whoever this officer is, who's obviously wearing a mask, is saying, "I'm stopping you because of your accent, which just reveals A, what their goal is, and B, that they're just poorly trained. Like they're not equipped to explain what they're doing in a way that isn't unconstitutional.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the next clip.
Eklund followed out onto the streets of Woodbury as ICE agents led him to his own somewhat private neighborhood and past his own home.
Must have run my plate because they drove into my neighborhood and into my cul-de-sac where I live.
I'd like to see your explanation for this one. I would love to see your explanation for this one, especially some of you Trump supporters out there that look just like this dude here. He's not a brown person. I just want to know what your explanation for this one is. Go on and justify it, because this right here could be you. But you know what y'all gonna do? I'm with you. Don't detain me. I'm right with you. Yeah.
There's no circumstance where they would have rolled through there without knowing that.
He stayed behind them until they stopped him.
Just fine. What can I do for you? One warning for what?
You will not be following us anymore, or you will be arrested.
I can follow you wherever I want.
You will be arrested.
A little while later, they followed through on that threat.
You've been warned that you're continuing to follow us and you're breaking a lot of
Oh, no. Hell no. Nope.
We warned you, sir.
Nope. One of those ICE agents went into the back seat, gave me a chokehold around the driver's headrest, unbuckled my seatbelt from behind me in my car, and those 5 agents pulled me to the street, put me in cuffs, and put me in an unmarked van. And
ICE agents technically never arrested Eklund. They did cause several injuries, including a black eye and other marks on his face, and they held him at a detention facility for more than 9 hours.
9 hours. 9 hours. Never technically arrested, and looked up his plates or did something to bring him.
That is the craziest part of this.
It's so fucked up. They brought him to his own house.
Doodle Bird, yes. The answer to that is yes. There are people of Hispanic and African American descent being ICE agent as well. Just to answer your question, love.
To what? Send a message that they had looked him up to intimidate him?
Yeah, to send a message that they can get him wherever he is, right? So he's following them. They look in the rearview mirror. He's following them as he is allowed to do legally. There's nothing to stop him from doing it. They look up his plates. They run his plates. Then they lead him to his own home to send the message. Then they arrest him anyway, or detain him, I guess, because he's never actually arrested, which is this giant loophole they keep running through. And look at the bruises on his face. Like, how does that happen?
There's no charges, right? They never seem to have been able to claim he broke any law. By the way, it's a small moment, but when the officer pulls at his door, he says something like, "You're breaking a lot of laws." Doesn't say what, doesn't accuse him of anything specific.
You're breaking a lot of laws. You're breaking a lot of laws. He's not specific as to what laws this man driving down the street behind them actually committed. No laws they don't do that. They don't even tell you. They don't tell you. You're breaking the law. They don't tell you what law you've broken. This gentleman's just riding behind him. They run his plates, find out where he lives. Come on, man.
But just sort of like, oh, you're breaking laws. I'm gonna grab you because you're breaking laws. This is my understanding is like a somewhat prominent person in the area that people know and are seeing that, like, look what is happening. Look at what they're doing here. Look at how they're harassing people. I mean, this is just old school thuggish, like right-wing militia behavior. Following
it's a paramilitary group.
Yeah,
that is running rampant. And this idea where they are just detaining people instead of arresting them is like I said, it's a loophole that goes through where they don't actually have any probable cause. They don't have to justify why they did it. They bring it, they cuff them up, they rough them up, they take them to a detention center, they leave them there for a long time, then they let them go, and that's it. They never have to explain why they did it, why they let them go, why they picked them up, why they let them go, because these people are breaking no laws, they're committing no crimes, and there's no evidence to suggest either one of those things. So they're just trying to intimidate them one by one.
And this is partly why among many good reasons. A free society doesn't have agents of the state wearing masks because because they are not acting as individuals, they're acting on behalf of the government. And so if they are acting on behalf of the government and they do not follow the law, they do not follow procedure, they stop being agents of the state and they start being people that you can investigate, that you can question, that you can sue, because you're supposed to be able to say, that's the guy. That's the guy that grabbed me. That's the guy that bruised my face or cut my seatbelt or put me in a chokehold. That's the one. And either the government stands behind what that person did or they don't. But when but they are not as individuals, given whatever they're now saying this phrase absolute immunity, which no human being on earth has ever had. And the masks are part of it. And so they're grabbing people. There was the kid in front of the Target or the Walmart who was grabbed, basically beaten up, thrown into a car. Then they dropped him off at a different parking lot. He had to kind of find his way back. That is what authoritarian governments do. That's what dictators do. They grab you, they scare you, they dump you out of the side of a car. That is not something that is supposed to happen in the United States of America. And I do think, I don't know, Dan, like there was I'm always wary of polling that says what Donald Trump is doing on illegal immigration is unpopular. Not that I think it is popular, but I do think that the Trump theory is that people don't like it, but they still come away seeing him as someone who's willing to do the hard, strong thing. And like, it gives him some sort of like credibility in a deeper, harder to measure way. Like, I think they have a more sophisticated understanding how people answer questions sometimes than Democrats do. That said, I think this shit is alienating to just about everybody.
And so John and I talked about this a little bit on Friday's pod, but in the CNN poll,
Lisa, you want an answer to this comment on the screen? I'm going to stop this video right now. When will the left wake up and realize President Trump isn't running in 2028? That is actually correct. He can't. According to the Constitution, you cannot serve more than 2 terms under any circumstances, war or otherwise. Now, he may try everything he can to try to disrupt, put us into martial law and all of that stuff. But there still will be elections. He cannot stop an election. It's going to take people to not be afraid to go out there, to not be intimidated to go to the polls. He cannot constitutionally run again, even though he thinks he can. But we all know he's never read the Constitution, so, I mean, it doesn't surprise me that he thinks he's going to. And he can't do the bird. He can't even try. The Constitution is, the 22nd Amendment is explicit in that he cannot, under any circumstances, run again. Yes, J.D. Vance is the forerunner for 2028. It has majority support of Republican base. However, I wonder, after all of this, how many people are going to go with the Republican Party? I'm just asking the question. But once again, let me just reiterate, in observance of yesterday, Martin Luther King Day, he said there's a loophole. Yeah, right. Yeah, and he thinks that Norway is responsible for the for the Nobel Peace Prize. Yeah. This is not what Martin Luther King meant by free at last. This is not what he meant. Okay, Cracker G, is that your name? Cracker G? Get your cracker ass out of my chat. How about that? You got the right name, baby. Oh. So with that said, in honor of Martin Luther King Day, since we didn't get to really talk about that yesterday as much as I'd like to, I'm going to go ahead and play this video, and then I'm going to end this live. This is his daughter, Dr. Bernice King, daughter of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. She gave a powerful speech on yesterday for the Martin Luther King Day annual services at the church he once pastored called Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta. And I think she pretty much wraps it up in a nutshell. So I will share the video. And from after that, we will end the live.
Thank you. Now, this is the day that the Lord has made. We ought to all rejoice and be glad in it. Let the redeemed of the Lord say so in this place.
Hello, Carol.
Hallelujah. You may be seated. On behalf of the King Center, welcome you to the 2026 Beloved Community Commemorative Service. I want to thank all of my King Center staff and team and volunteers for all the work they put into bringing forth an extraordinary week of activities, including today's commemorative service and our community service project. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Love you deeply and dearly. Thank you, Ebenezer, for opening your doors, Pastor Warnock, once again to us. We gather in this sacred space again to commemorate the life, the legacy, and the liberating love of my father, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. On what would have been his 97th birthday and the 41st observance of the national holiday, 41 years in. And I dare to say and declare, and we ain't going nowhere. We just.
I am so sorry. This doggone mute. I was just agreeing with y'all that yes, she is her father's child. And yes, she is very beautiful. Again, I apologize for the mute button. So let me get back to the video. My bad, my bad.
At a time when the world is trembling under the weight of its own contradictions, a time when inhumanity, injustice, and inequity have risen to devastating heights, a time when our nation is fractured by polarization, poisoned by fear, and paralyzed by division. We gather in a moment charged with both peril and promise, a moment when the soul of our nation is crying out, not with a whisper, but with a groan of urgency for healing, for direction, for a way forward that binds our wounds rather than deepens them. We are living in a moral crisis, not symbolic, but so deep. Our humanity is at stake. There is a battle going on between good and evil, and the future of this nation and the world house hangs in the balance. We must decide whether we will continue down the path of fragmentation or rise together into new possibilities of community. But beneath these visible crises lies a deeper affliction, a crisis of conscience and compassion. We scroll through suffering as if flipping through channels. We debate the humanity of our neighbors as if dignity were a commodity. Fear has become the currency of power. Anger is spoken more fluently than love. Hope is fading into a faint echo, and people are losing faith, yes, in institutions, in one another, in themselves, and even in God. We're divided not only by ideology, but by imagination, unable to imagine a future together. This moment demands more than memory, it demands movement. More than admiration, it demands action.
And this is what I was talking about earlier. We can't just sit at home on our laurels and watch what plays out on the TV and say, well, as long as it's not touching my house, you know, they'll work it out. No, it can come knocking on your door any day. Enough is enough. We gotta do more than just sit on our behinds and watch it unfold. And thank God our forefathers didn't do that. They got out in them streets, they put their lives on the line for the freedom that we have now as a people. Even though we are mistreated a lot. Let's be real about it. Can you imagine living back in that time? I'd be a dead somebody. I ain't lying.
More than commemoration, it demands commitment, because the forces tearing at our shared humanity are not waiting. Nationalism, extremism, and imperialism are not waiting. The erosion of democracy is not waiting.
Tawana, in answer to your question, Tawana says, how did Roosevelt run that many years? They instituted the 22nd Amendment after Roosevelt. He was the last president to serve he served 3 terms. Yes, Mr. Phillips, that's the plan. That's the plan when I'm done. But that's an answer to your question, love.
The massacring of civilians is not waiting. Children pulled from rubble in Gaza, Sudan, Congo, Ukraine, and Haiti are not waiting. Oligarchy masquerading as democracy is not waiting. The normalization of dehumanization, disinformation, and violence is not waiting. Wars raging abroad and in our streets are not waiting. Economic inequality widening day by day is not waiting. Climate disasters devastating homes and hearts are not waiting. Human rights norms being ignored or selectively applied are not waiting. So neither can we wait. This is the hour when truth must be louder than fear. This is the hour when courage must be stronger than convenience.
You know what, y'all? I got to say, it's funny. I'm looking at the chat number now. Once I put this video of this sister, they ran. They ran. The trolls ran away. I just wanted to point that out. The real ones stayed. The real people that have an honest opinion. Raptor, I appreciate you being here. We may not agree, but I will say that, hey, you're not in here just to spew nonsense. So I appreciate you. I really do. And I thank you for coming.
This is the hour when love must be more disciplined than anger. This is the hour when we choose the way that leads to life. That way is the nonviolent way, the love-centered Kingian way, the way that honors the dignity of every person, even adversaries, that resist the forces dividing us through ideology and identity, partisanship and propaganda. The nonviolent way insists we cannot build a future apart from one another. We must build a future rooted in justice and compassion. My father often reminded us that we are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. What affects one directly affects all of us indirectly. And so you cannot cancel that garment. You cannot sever that network. I cannot be all that I ought be until you are all that you ought be. Because I am because you are, and you are because I am. When we see people strictly as others, strictly as enemy, strictly as disposable, we react rather than respond. We retaliate rather than restore. We dehumanize rather than dignify. And when we dehumanize, we destroy the very possibility of community. That is why nonviolence is not simply a way, it is the way that heals, transforms, and leads us toward the beloved community. Yet decade after decade, we've resisted the shift in thinking, speaking, acting, and engaging that nonviolence requires. We have confined it to marches and protests, but nonviolence is not a tactic. It is a way of life, a spiritual discipline, and a moral mandate. Einstein said, we cannot solve our problems on the same level of thinking that we created them. America was born in violence. We're gonna have to solve it through nonviolence. Nonviolence lifts us to a higher plane where love guides logic and compassion directs courage. The problems we face today are not only political or economic, they are moral and spiritual problems.
There's the core right there. Too many people do not want to look at this on a spiritual level as well. How much better we would be off if people use their, I mean, just really, if they were following the same Lord that we follow. I don't think that this world would be the way it is, but we live in a corrupt world. And people don't want to touch on God. I'm not on that platform. I'm going to declare who my Lord and Savior is. I don't care who's in my chat. I'm not going to back down on my belief. If you don't like who I believe in, you are free to move on. You are free to move on. What would Jesus do? Ask yourself that question. What would Jesus do? But even Jesus protested. He protested twice in the temple. So we don't have to be passive.
Rooted in the erosion of good. And when a society grows suspicious of good or punishes good, the society is in danger. We saw this danger in the tragic killing of Renee Nicole Good. Her death was not just a physical tragedy. We've seen many of those. We've experienced too many of those. It was a moral indictment, a spiritual alarm, a prophetic sign that good, the very thing we need most, is being crucified in our midst. Good deeds dismissed, good intentions mocked, good people targeted, good vision suffocated before they can breathe. Her story forces us to confront a painful truth. Goodness itself is endangered. And that's why nonviolence is not optional. Nonviolence.
Oh, hold it, Raptor it. You don't know your history on this woman. You said no offense to her. She's a millionaire. She doesn't know the struggles of middle and lower middle class. Let me tell you something. She grew up in lower class as a child. You think Martin was rich? Come on, man. Come on, man. That's an opinion. What she is now does not dictate what she's aware of. She definitely knows the struggles. She knows the struggles more than you may know the struggles of middle and lower middle class.
It protects good. It restores good. It multiplies good. Nonviolence is how we guard the good, grow the good, and refuse to let the world normalize the killing of good in our streets, in our systems, in our speech,
Thank
and in
you,
our
Sweetie Bird. I'm
spirits.
sorry, I forgot to say thank you for the super chat, sweetheart.
As we confront the killing of good, we must also confront the killing of truth. The recent claim by President Trump that the 1964 Civil Rights Act harmed white Americans is just wrong, and it's dangerous. It rewrites history in a way that fuels fear and resentment. My fathers and so many leaders of the
Raptor, I'm sorry. You said, but Auntie, I did look her up just now. That's why I made my comment. But your comment is based on your interpretation of where she is now in life. But you have no idea the struggles that her and her family went through when they were children. So I beg to differ. I beg to differ. And I don't have to look it up because I lived during that time. I knew what her poverty looked like. It was equal to mine.
The movement. Fred Shuttlesworth, Diane Nash, John Lewis, I can call the roll, but I won't do it today, did not risk their lives to divide this nation.
You're saying you literally looked her up. She did not grow up poor. We're not talking about the entire time that she was growing up, sir or ma'am. I don't know if you're male or female, so I mean no disrespect. But look, she wasn't able to go to private school until sometime shortly before her father was assassinated. They were middle class and even lower middle class.
They did not risk their lives to divide this nation. They did so because America was denying millions basic rights, the right to work, the right to vote, to live where they please, to move through society with dignity. The Civil Rights Act did not give Black people special treatment. It made discrimination illegal. The same discrimination you're trying to turn around and use. It required the law to protect everyone equally. That is democracy.
And furthermore, now that I'm thinking about it, what difference does it make what kind of money she got? Because if you born Black in America, it doesn't matter what your class was. You were targeted. So please don't throw what kind of money she got going on right now and say that she doesn't know what the struggle is to be middle class. How about learning the struggle of being Black at a time where it was almost a death sentence to be Black, as she well knows, because her father died behind this. So please, this isn't about economics and what gives her the right to speak on this. She's lived this just like the majority of us in this chat. Yes, we were small, we were younger, but our forefathers did. My grandparents did. My father did. I did.
So to my white brothers and sisters, the Civil Rights Act was never meant to harm you. It was meant to heal a nation broken by injustice. Fairness does not steal from you. Justice strengthens us all. And so we must not fall for the politics of fear, the lie that we must choose between one another to thrive. America is stronger when more people are included, when we are united in respect and love, not when we retreat in fear. The beloved community is not built by blaming one another. It's built by protecting the dignity of everyone. And so on this King holiday, we are not going backwards. We are not going backwards. We can't go back because we've come too far. And I don't believe that God brought us this far to leave us. There might be setbacks and even setups, but with God on our side, we will step up and stand up for what is right, what is just, and what is true. As my father prophetically said on April 3rd, 1968, we've got some difficult days ahead. But it really doesn't matter with me now because I've been to the mountaintop. God's allowed me to look over and see the promised land. And I may not get there with you, with us today, but we as a people will get to the promised land. And so if no billy club, no biting dogs, no water hoses, no cattle prods could stop them or turn them around, then no ice or ice rays will turn us around. It will not turn us around or freeze our efforts to protest, because as Daddy said, the greatness of America is the right to protest for right. No DEI removals or DEI bans will break our resolve to create a just, equitable, and inclusive society. We will rise because the hour demands it. We will stand because truth requires it. We will act because justice compels it. We will build because the future depends on it. We will become because our children deserve nothing less.
Terry Dale, I don't know where you been. And sweetheart, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to shame you, even though you're saying, why are they talking about that at a church? Shame on them. Shame on you for not knowing your history on where the civil rights movement even started. It started right out of the church. Do you know who this woman is? Do you know who her father was? She's the daughter of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a preacher who went from church to church to make a difference for Black people in this country. Now, there's some history for you. Why are they talking about that at a church? Maybe your church don't have to talk about this kind of thing. But until you walk in a Black person's shoes, you understand what the church means to our culture. This is where it starts, right in the church. Bless your heart.
We will rise not with domination, but with dignity. We will stand not on fear, but on moral courage. We will act not out of rage, but out of love, the fierce enough to confront and tender enough to heal. We will build not monuments to division, but pathways to share destiny. We will become not what history has tried to make us, but what God created us to be. So let it be said on this 2026 King holiday of us that not that we commemorated the dream, but that we carried it. Not that we admired a legacy, but we lived it. Not that we waited for justice, but we walked toward it with courage, with clarity and conviction. And by God's grace, we will rise, we will stand, we will act, we will build community and unite a nation the nonviolent way, the higher plane of emotional intelligence, strategic clarity, spiritual stamina, and spiritual love, the higher plane of responding without reacting, of confronting without condemning, of resisting without retaliating, of building without breaking. The mission is possible. So walk together, children. Don't you get weary. Work together, children. Don't you get weary. Struggle together and hold on together, children. Don't you get weary. Mobilize and organize and strategize together, children. Don't you get weary. Fuss, fight, but get over it together, children. And don't you get weary. But don't forget to pray together, children, or you will get weary. So walk together, children. And I do believe in my heart, deep in my heart, that one day we shall overcome.
Well, there we have it. And we've had our share of overcoming tonight with some of the things that have been said in this chat, such as the one that was just up on the platform. Act like a human then. Well, we've been acting like humans, but you'll get it one day. Absolutely. So with all that said, you guys, I really appreciate you guys stopping by. I appreciate you every day. You guys just don't know. Sometimes it's hard to get up here and do this thing. Sometimes I just want to roll over and go to sleep, but y'all make it worth my while. So with all that said, when I get off of this live tonight, you know where I'm going. And if you guys want to join me, I will be going live again on Auntie Mickey Slots. Anybody that's in the chat, if you want to check out some casino action, follow me over at Auntie Mickey Slots. I don't judge. I don't judge. If you want to come on over, you don't even have to talk. You can just watch. So, hello, 8 with the 24. How are you, my love? I'm so sorry you're so late. You have to catch the replay. But anyway, I'm out of here. Y'all check out Auntie Mickey Slots. Yeah, I'm going to unleash that dragon tonight. So, Duty Bird says, I won't be there unless I get a second win. I hear you, hun. Yes. So with that said, y'all have a wonderful evening. And for those of you who can join me later, keep your notifications on and I'll see you soon. Good night, y'all.
Hey there, my kinfolk. Thanks for stopping by. Auntie Mickey's house, where we reach for the sky. Every comment and smile, you make my heart glow. Together we're strong, together we grow. From gossip to politics, we cover it all. Sharing laughs and thoughts, having a ball. Your support means everything that I know. Feels like family here in this sweet show. So let's keep it flowing, keep the love alive. Every moment together makes me thrive. You're more than viewers, you're my kids. your boo takes flight.